Hello, this is Muho from Osaka. The next question was asked under one of those videos of the Zen and Zazen Zoom classes. And the question is about two things that I mentioned in those classes. I will read the question. For quite some time now, I don't manage to bring the two together. On the one hand, the power of being in the presence, which has basically no individual attributes and which I experience occasionally. And there's a link to something that I said in one of those Zoom sessions. You will find the link in the video description. The power of being in the presence, which has no individual attributes. And then, on the other hand, the own identity, which is unsurpassable in the whole universe. And there's another link to a video. And this phrase, own identity, which is unsurpassable in the whole universe, is a quote from Sawaki Roshi. The phrase that he's using in Japanese is Tenjo Tenge Yuiga Dokson. And that's a quote from the sutras. The Buddha, supposedly, right after he was born, said, above the heavens and below the heavens. So that means in the whole universe. In the whole universe, there's only one being that's worth of respect, so to speak. There's one who's unsurpassable in the whole universe. And the question is, who's that? Some Buddhists would say, well, of course the Buddha. Of course the historic Buddha, Shakyamuni. But what Sawaki says, no. Each single one of us is living out that identity, and I'm not sure if identity is really a good translation, but I translated it as identity in the book To You. So in some of these Zen and Zazen sessions I'm using this book To You, translation of Kodo Sawaki's sayings. So the person who's asking today's questions isn't quite sure about the relation between being in the present, and that has no individual attributes, and the own identity, which is unsurpassable in the whole universe, which was touched today again. So today means maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And which seems to be a pure individual attribute, which I experience as well. Muho, can you please suggest how to tackle that discrepancy? And to be honest, I don't really understand the question, the discrepancy. So the person who asked the question says, I know both of these states that you're talking about, but they are completely different. The reason why I don't understand this, for me it's more or less the same. What I call being the present, and what I call this identity, which is unsurpassable, for me it's the same. It's being in the here and now, and you can't compare it. You can call it completely individual, so individual that you can't even compare it with somebody else's here and now, or you can call it not individual at all for the same reason. There's no comparison. It's only this one. There is no other here and now than this here and now. And the moment you're watching this video, here and now doesn't mean Muho's here and now in Osaka. It's your here and now, and that's the only one. So for me it's the same as being in the present. So unfortunately, I can't really answer the question because I don't understand it. I don't see a discrepancy here. Then there's a person who's asking a number of questions. I doubt that I can answer all of them today, but I will read the first one. Hello Muho, I made up my mind a little on interesting topics for the classes to come. First, what are the rules a Zen layperson has to adhere to compared to a Zen monk? So Zen monks, when you ordain, you get a number of precepts, but how is it with a layperson? What rules does this person have to adhere to? If I got it correctly, this is different for the various forms of Buddhism. It would be interesting what is expected or the common way. Is there one in Zen, and what your definition or opinion is on that topic? For example, well, in Antaiji the rules are important to regulate the life in the community. And in Antaiji it would be exactly the same rules for everyone, regardless of age, gender, and if they're lay or ordained. Exactly the same rules. But in Antaiji there's kind of no rules for kind of lay practitioners, and once they leave Antaiji I tell them, well, now you have to, even though you're not living with us anymore, you have to keep to this and this and this rule. But as the person who asks the question rightly says, there are different traditions. And I think at the time of the Buddha there were 5 precepts for lay practitioners, and if I'm not wrong, they are not killing, not lying, not stealing, no sexual misconduct, and no drinking, no drugs. Those 5. But again, those are rules that are kind of trying to help you lead a regulated life and keep a steady practice. It's not that's something that you have to kind of keep to. And if you break one of these rules, you're not a practitioner anymore. And I could imagine that, for example, Thich Nhat Hanh has kind of an updated version of these. I read somewhere 14 rules. I don't know if these are also for lay practitioners, but I mean, each tradition has their own regulations, and in Zen outside of these 5 very general rules, not killing, not stealing, not lying, not committing sexual misconduct, and not getting drugged, I couldn't think of anything special right now. But then if you're living in a monastery, then of course there are lots of other rules. There are 2 more questions, but they might take some time, so I will stop today and we see each other again next week. Thank you for watching. Bye.